morning, everyone. Warm welcome and some good afternoon or even good evening. And we will be enjoying the second session today on this topic. But to begin with, we will have a few minutes of a drill from Babdada. So enjoy. welcome back. And this incredible vision of the Father, of seeing that angelic, seeing you. And I want to share with you one quote, and this is by a Greek philosopher, Epicurus. And he said that it's not so much our friends' help that helps us as the confidence of their help. So it's this feeling that perhaps we all have had at some time, where it's the consistency, the clarity of the Father's vision of you, the true you, this angelic being, as in your truth, and the surety and the stability of that vision, and the way it comes through in the Murlis. And yesterday there was this foundation at the beginning about the diagnosis and being able to dissect out Ravan. And the main gift, I think, is that Baba's showing us that this Ravan is not normal, and it's not your truth. He is seeing the angel bringing that out, empowering and feeding the angelic, making it easy, and doesn't see you as to take the analogy of yesterday, as the camel, the camel role in a children's story. He sees you, the actor, and the confidence in what you already have. Another analogy from yesterday was, if someone is saying, I'm so hungry, but the meal is right in front. They are saying they are starving, but the meal is there. Your confidence in vision is shining light on the food in front. In the same way, the eternal treasures and the eternal peace and security of the soul is right in front, and the Father is having this confidence and vision and shining light at that, in seeing the desireless and egoless and sorrowless you. And yesterday today also thinking about this one thing, to be free from sorrow, free from taking and giving sorrow, and the vibration of that. So this supreme friend who's supremely constant, we don't really need anyone else. So thank you for being on this journey, and if you want to share your reflections, thoughts, and meanwhile we're going to hand over to Prashant.
Thank you, and hello, good morning. As was mentioned yesterday, friend is such a positive energy, and we like friends. And we brought in the angle to be one's own friend, to be your own friend. And so we are questioning, is there a time when we are not our own friends? We saw yesterday that there is a very distinct partition there. There is the true self, and there is the self pretending to be you. That is also going on. Ordinarily, there is no question about this in the world outside, until Baba comes and he says, no, what you are working for all this time is the false self. Whole of it. You are working for the camel all this time. And it is not just neutral, okay, camel, I can be nice to camel and also now we work for the soul. No, camel is neutral, but the ego that is created around a camel, that is demonic. It has got a agenda, demonic agenda. If right now we can destroy this planet more than 100 times, that is the minimum estimation, but each and every village on this planet we can destroy 100 times over again. And why? It is human beings who must be very kind and loving to each other. And why all the courts are busy, all over the world. And it is because of the ego, really. And this ego, is innately confused and demonic. We have discussed this before, where we use the word Ravan, but enough to know that it is the ego that has an agenda to keep the true self unconscious. If anyone is not soul conscious, it is because ego has that agenda. Ego can be conscious only if the soul is unconscious. So this shines new light in the equation. Every minute we are cooperating with the enemy, with Ravan, your own Ravan. You are not your own friend. If you want to be your own friend, you may have to stop cooperating with the enemy. A different equation, different light. So that was just a quick revision based on what Sarah touched. So let us create another minute of attention. This whole game of being a friend of the self, true self, as was said yesterday, Paras favors the true self. Paras favors the soul. Patthar favors the ego. Patthar, it is sort of embodiment of confusion. It sort of sees story as if it is your world. That is the starting position of Patthar. Nothing else exists other than the story. So the first step you are taking is use Paras and see the reality beyond the story. And this is the main thing. We are seeing this dimension is subtle, alokik, eternal, and divine. Ordinarily, no university even refers to this. Don't want to know that this exists. Gives you an idea how the institutions are absolutely patthar. So here you are starting with this. First second, you are changing the game. You are seeing that this dimension exists. Dimension that is subtle, that is alokik, unearthly, that is eternal, and that is divine. And this world is beyond the story. And in this world is the true family, true father, true treasures, true self. The whole, everything that is important, everything that matters is at this level. And the story, story is always extra. You know beforehand the episodes in the story begin and end, you are now seeing it the right way. When it was Patthar, we see that it is upside down. You are living in the story. And then complaining about its limitations and it ends. That there are dragons, you are complaining. When we are right way up, you are amused by the story. And you are seeing your world. Game changes in a second. As we go through the day, we understand the fun. More we play with this, we know the paras will become stronger and the experience will become natural. If the paras is not strong, then okay, it will become a temporary experience, but then we go back into the Patthar perspective. The story becomes everything. Patthar means this. Story becomes as if it is the main thing and nothing else exists. And in that Patthar environment, ego flourishes, Ravan flourishes. To be friend of the self, we take this responsibility to create the right environment for the self. Thank you. Yes, so feel free to type your comments and your reflections, questions.
Thank you. There's an initial question from the Spanish group. When the ego takes center stage, would the symptom or the sign of it be the loss of happiness?
Sure. Not necessarily. Ego can also be happy for different reasons. But the first thing is that for the ego, things of the physical world becomes important, serious. It matters. In ego, everything is revolving around the story. That is its world. They're taking the example of camel. It will get into some excitement that people like the camel's nose. That has become the reason for happiness or unhappy. The elephant is not doing the right thing. But there's a dragon, some kind of you are caught in the story. That is the ego. Pull or push. If we are in the soul awareness, then sky is important for you. That alaukic reality is central. It matters. And that dimension is highest and the best and stable. So it is a different game altogether.
One other question, how to detect subtle egos?
As we remain busy with the soul awareness, as that becomes our hobby, then the contrast stands. We need a contrast. Otherwise, when we are already into darkness, to detect the other, maybe Easy, maybe not so easy. But if there is a contrast, it stands out more easily. I often say that ego is ego, but for some, one ego appears to be subtle just because they are not observing it, clearly. For someone else, it is so blatant and obvious. It is not subtle, but he says it is very, very subtle. It just means he is not seeing it. But in the contrast, you will observe things.
Yeah, thank you. Useful to know that sometimes subtle is used just because it's not so clear. Yeah. So there aren't any other questions right now?
Yeah, sure. So I will be using our famous board and the famous sketch. And we need to be reminded that there is something called true self. And true self is the invisible player, and he is the invisible prince. Let us come back to the practice we spoke of yesterday. We used the expression invisible incarnate. The invisible soul, he is the invisible player in this physical world. He sees the whole physical world as so small. His focus is on the alokik. That is important for him. Invisible player. He has happiness of his world and his alokik reality. He comes in the physical world as an invisible incarnate, avatar. And this incarnate, we said, we use that word as a prophetic incarnate with a mission. Difference between a guest and an incarnate is focused. Every second, every thought of an incarnate is towards a clear task. So the invisible incarnate is in this world. We see that world, physical world, as if it is temporarily made. Drama is made of this cardboard props and cardboard masks. Temporary. The whole thing is going to be dismantled. That is the way the incarnate sees this physical world, and that includes what we are seeing here. This computer and Prashant is all part of this temporary world. Whole thing. The invisible incarnate has no interest at all in that story world. He has not come here to even look into what is happening. During these minutes, we grasp this perspective of the invisible incarnate. He has come here for his mission, not to find out what is the latest in some news, latest news, or who says what, and latest gossip. He has not 1 second for that. Invisible incarnate. His mission is to reach his invisible brothers who are deceived in that world of story. Deceived in what way? They are into the bondage. They are trapped in that story world, and they are unconscious. They don't even know they exist. And their enemy is in charge of their life and their minds. The invisible incarnate is very clear of this. And he knows that he can bring light. Silence. Light is in silence. His vision and his attitude, his attention is like light. He just needs to see the truth. He just sees that here behind all this camel and elephant world, there are invisible brothers. And these brothers are immortal and lovely, loving, and lucky. They are from God's world. So they are lucky. He just sees this. Just as he sees this, he has confidence. This is a language. This awareness creates light. He has confidence in this light. In the darkness, light creates magic. The invisible incarnate has no interest in the story world, as was said, no interest in the whole thing, in the world of dolls and world of props. He has no interest there. That is the way he sees. His attitude is like that. It is temporary drama. That drama is to finish any time. And for him it is. Drama is, there are stories, the many stories. He is not getting into some sentimentality and interest and attachments. That is zero. But focus is on the invisible brothers. That is where the focus is. He is very fond. On one side, there is disinterest, but on the other hand, he is very fond of his alokik world. Very fond of his true home. Very fond of his true family. He knows they are childlike and godlike. True family. Very fond of his true father. Very fond of his treasures, eternal treasures. That is why he is here as an incarnate, because he loves them and he cares. He knows them. That is why he wants to intervene. The invisible incarnate remains the friend of the souls. During this visit in the amazing club, this is the club, physical world. He is visiting the club to rescue his brothers, but he is not in the club for the party. During this time in the club, if he gets interested, just interest, leave aside big attachments, just interested in these things of the club, story. You know what we are talking about is really the story. And that is people, position, possessions. As we are saying in that, to understand this whole thing, what we call Prashant, and for each one of you, the role that we are associated with is part of this club, temporary world. When we are talking about the invisible incarnate, he is independent of the role. Just as yesterday we gave the example, Mary is 100% independent of the elephant part she is playing. She is the one who is playing the part, but Mary is separate and the elephant is separate, camel is separate. That confusion, if we create, it has a penalty, this confusion. That confusion is exactly what ego wants you to go into, because that will support the ego. The moment you go into that you mix your world with the world of camel as if it is the same thing. No, it is not the same thing. Then that is when you cross that line. So during these minutes, when we are seeing the perspective of the invisible incarnate, his perspective, invisible incarnate perspective, is that there is a story down below. And of course, we are very detached from the whole thing in the story. But within that story is also the role. And by that, I mean here Prashant. And everything around Prashant is part of that temporary story. And when we are saying the invisible incarnate has no interest, he has no interest in Prashant either. Try and grasp this. He's not mixing. He's not saying, okay, but he feels some kind of interest of Prashant, should be saved. No, he sees 100% objective. And same thing with you. Try and see, grasp this perspective where you are saying soul, sure, invisible incarnate, and he's the invisible player. His perspective down below is that story, which is going to be dismantled. It is a temporary story. This is the way it is. It's a temporary story. Whole thing will be dismantled. He is 100% aware of it, and 100% happy with it. There's story, there's so many stories. If it matters, that is the attitude from the ego. So during this minute, we grasp this perspective of 100% freedom. No confusion, zero confusion. When we grasp this, then this dimension, the alokik dimension, becomes alive. If we mix it, this dimension just remains words. Not the experience will not be there. So right now, but also later on when you are creating time, come in this. This is such a game. Even what happened 1 hour ago, that is gone. Right now, we have the option to come in this perspective fully, in a perspective of the invisible incarnate, who is visiting this club. We are calling it club. The entire, we are using these words so that we lower the hype of this physical world. As was said, for ego, that physical world has become so big. And then he says, I'm so nice, I'm doing this charity and I'm doing such good things. But it is ego doing this. It is, it is polluted from the first word, first go. So we are taking a stand that is clean from the first second, maybe for a short time, but let me grasp this. Invisibly incarnate, seeing the club, and in that club there are all cardboard props and masks to be dismantled. Whole thing is going to finish. And the invisible incarnate has no interest in any of those things. He is focused. He wants to reach his invisible brothers. And invisible brothers, they are souls. He knows he can help, he can reach them only if he sees them. If he doesn't even see them, how is he going to be their friend? If he just deceived by the body and camel, that part, how can he be the friend of the invisible actor? So he acknowledges their presence, acknowledges their greatness, acknowledges their wonder. They belong to God and God's world and God's family. It may be seconds, but those seconds of light is like seconds of blessings. They are precious seconds. In the darkness, even the few seconds of light, they are very useful, makes a huge difference. Excellent. You want to add anything? Say anything?
It's an immersion, so enjoying this, and also if there is light, it is orientating and it gives you contrast, it gives you direction. So appreciating this zero confusion posture. There aren't any comments at the moment, but I'm sure more will come.
Now, when we are in that space, when the larger experience of the invisible incarnate few words for us to revisit and come back to this again and again. He feels his world is complete. We are talking about alokik. He feels his world is complete. He got everything. It's complete. He misses nothing. His world is full. He lacks nothing. His world is perfect. His world is beautiful. True experience of beauty is at the incorporeal level. True experience of perfection, all of these exist at that level. We project it at a physical level in some way, or we expect it at a physical level. But so also fullness and complete, all of these things exist at the alokik level. And that is what the invisible incarnate feels this. And this is not a long process. It's a game of a second. It is now. The only precondition, don't mix it with ego. That is the only precondition. The invisible incarnate, he feels his world is complete. His world is full. By that, we mean he lacks nothing, he misses nothing. His world is perfect. His world is beautiful. His world is of love. Everyone, we said, childlike and harmless, beyond harm. Such is the family, all and always. Ravan free is a huge thing. Ravan's vibrations are not there. Even here in this world, if you meet someone and if there is no ego, you love them. You don't want cakes from them. Someone is not having ego, you feel they are immensely lovely. And same in the political world, or someone like Gandhi, people generated so much love just because he lowered the ego within himself. And that was enough to generate love. Everyone loves him or loved him. So there is, at this level, everyone is like this. All these invisible brothers, they are worthy of immense love. So it becomes a region of love. Silently, everyone knows they're lucky. Feeling is like that. If you have all these things and God and truth, feelings are of being lucky. You are secure forever. And at the absolute level, you are beyond harm. Nothing can harm you, even the slightest. Putting in other words, other end, ego. What about ego? Ego feels he's forever a victim. Someone might just say a word and he feels, he's hurt by it. And soul that is conscious, no one can deprive him of anything, no one can deny him of anything, no one can offend him. Things happen in the drama, many things happen. but he doesn't take the offense. He doesn't feel anyone has deprived him of anything, anyone denied him. Beyond harm in an absolute way. In the drama, there is death also. The drama comes to an end, there is destruction. But the invisible incarnate, he feels is absolutely beyond harm all along. And so secure in that absolute way. He knows the success is so obvious and guaranteed because he knows the final score. Once you know the end result, then you see the success. It is a question of there is a journey, but success is guaranteed. And his life is of celebration. Means there is a feeling of harmony. Everyone is good, feeling ongoing celebration, but silent celebration. In celebration, what happens? There is a sense of belonging and respect, love, happiness. And this is what his life is. And it is forever. The whole thing is forever. No one can interrupt this life of the invisible incarnate, his truth. No one can change it. Nothing can change it. His bond with God, no one can change it. In a world of love, no one can change it. Only thing is he can be unconscious. That is the only thing. It is his choice. He can deceive himself. That is the challenge. He can cross the line. Up to him whether he crosses the line or stays behind the line. But the truth of each and every one is extraordinary. This is what everyone is looking for in the story. They all are begging for this in the story. Whereas this is the life of the invisible incarnate. That's why one thing we said, no one can have a higher quality of life than the soul, really. No one can have a higher quality of life than the invisible incarnate. We are using that word for the soul conscious soul. One can be the king here, but he's not having the experience, inner experience, that he's secure. If the ego is there, he will not feel. No one has harmed him, no one can harm him. Those feelings are not there. But whereas the invisible incarnate, he feels no one can harm him, even the slightest, ever. But that includes, bombs and terrorists and fires and death. All it is happening in the drama. At the same time, he is aware. He is alaukic. He is different. He's not from that cardboard world. And that's why he feels absolutely secure. Never a victim, never a beggar. Needs nothing from anywhere. That freedom from desire, once you have not crossed the line, Only when you cross the line, there are desires and all Ravan's department starts. When the line is not crossed, he's free from even preference. Desires include preference and expectations. That is all that's required. Don't go in that direction, and you are connected to the experience of full contentment. Desire means emptiness starts coming in. Whereas when you are behind a line, the invisible incarnate, his world experiences of full contentment. So, that's why with all this, he knows the wonder that exists for everyone. He knows everyone is from this world. They have a right to experience it. This is the spirit with which Baba comes. Baba knows what is missing and what a little thing that is necessary. Just taking one step of waking up, minimum intervention, and they can have an eternal attainment. So with that spirit, Baba is the friend of the soul. We said the invisible incarnate is the embodiment of smriti. Only the soul can be soul conscious. He is the embodiment of knowledge. Well, it also means our spiritual journey, lots of time, it can be ego-based, effort, or some ego mixed effort. When it is mixed, you don't get the feeling of being the embodiment. It is as if some buffalo, some animal is trying to fly. It can try a little bit, but it comes back on the ground. For bird to fly is natural. Small bird, big bird, baby bird, they fly. Whereas for the animal, for a buffalo, he can try whole year. He will not be able to fly. Human beings, even we can use aeroplane and all. It is still not natural as the bird. The bird is made for the sky. In the same way, when we make effort, ego-based effort, there is something missing. It is not natural. If you are thinking about love, but something else comes in, selfishness comes in, little disappointment happens, love becomes less, love becomes more, complications. But when it is soul-based effort, you are the embodiment of love. You know what this love means. You are clearly separating the story on one side and your vision. The invisible incarnate is seeing his brothers. They are lovely and they got nothing to do with the script of the camel. The script of the camel is separate and your invisible actors, they are separate. But same applies to every aspect. The effort becomes natural. That's why nice word Baba uses, Swarup, embodiment of every aspect, embodiment of bliss, embodiment of peace, embodiment of truth, embodiment of renunciation, because he has no interest in that cardboard club. No one can have Ego cannot have renunciation like that. Ego will have some interest at least. Embodiment, when we use that word, it means inside out. It is not something that is artificially propped up. It is your nature, absolute clean nature, and that is the life of the invisible incarnate. It may be we are able to hold it for 1 minute, 10 minutes. That's okay. But we have the option to come to it again. Nourish that perspective of the invisible incarnate. Only in that we are friends of ourselves to start with. If we are our own friends, then there is chance we can be friends of others. If we are not our own friends, how can we be friends of others? Yes, you would like to add anything, say anything?
I think this is a deepening of what was brought first yesterday about what it means for us to be our own friend at a true level, not working at the buffalo level. Question here, if you mentioned earlier, if we mix these two worlds, we can't experience the alokik world because it remains only words. Could you explain a bit more how to know that we are doing it the right way?
Sure. We normally mix it. That's why the story has become so not a story. We don't see this, we think someone is your auntie and someone is your uncle. You feel as if there is in this world, you got people, relations. What we are meaning, you are having relations in the camel and elephant world, which means you are mixing. Mary is mixing her life with the world of camel and elephant. And intellect has to be clear. Because Patthar intellect will create confusion. And that's what has happened. So you start with the best intellect, and then you are seeing that is a script, camel, elephant, dragon, that is a drama on one side. And on the other side is Mary and Sandra. They are friends and they are actors, and there is a different world. They got their own parents and home. Then there is no mixture. Then it is clear. We said here right now is this drama going on. The invisible souls are the actors and acting in this drama. And Prashant and all this, what is going on here, this is like no different to camel and elephant. There's a drama of camel, elephant, Prashant, and others. Peter. That is a drama going on. And let us give ourselves a chance of becoming free from confusion. That is why this language of invisible incarnate. If we grasp that perspective of invisible incarnate for 5 minutes, during those 5 minutes, there is no confusion. If our attitude is anything different to the invisible incarnate, it is already mixed. You then make the camel and elephant world important. It matters, and why someone did something and why someone said something, it matters. we might as well know during those minutes we have crossed the line. At least we create minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour of full clarity. At least we start like that.
And maybe connected, what does it mean to make true effort?
Effort is always good, and because it starts the process. And in Baba's words, if not subtle, gross, do things in a gross way. That's because you are thinking about these things. First day, we will not be soul conscious. We are here because there is an ego. That's why we are here. If we were soul conscious, we would not be coming here to study. So Baba knows our starting position is ego and body consciousness and attachments. That is the starting position. So any effort, Baba is greatly appreciating that. You are moving forward and intellect is getting refined. But within that, we have the option to look for what is that, what is the highest. One person asked me, he was very new. He said, what is the best meditation? Don't think I'm new, that's why I won't understand it. Tell me the best meditation. First, give me that idea. So give yourselves this question: what is the best? What's the highest? And you might find that is easy. It may be more easy for us because we come from that space. It may be difficult for ego, but it may be difficult for something within us.
Yes, thank you. Very encouraging. When a person is being authentic, is it necessarily egolessness?
Authentic in and what happens is many people are authentic. They authentic in many things. Ego can be authentic also in his own way, but authentic in virtues happens from soul consciousness. And by that we mean it is under extreme provocation, he stays in that space. If it is not coming from that highest space, if it is fake, then camel goes, mouse comes, mouse goes, cat comes, and you also go up and down because drama matters for you. And your experiences are not, roots are not in the spiritual world. If the roots are in the drama, you also go up and down. As the cat comes, cat goes. Dog comes, dog goes. You also go up and down. For one who is awake, spiritually awake, then his roots are at another level, and then only it will be authentic.
It's very helpful because sometimes it feels to talk about authenticity. It's a very nice thing and it feels good, but just the checking authentic and what. But yes, nice question and very helpful. Just seeing there's a Spanish question or comment. Sometimes determination is forced and effort is difficult. I think it has to be something softer and less imposed. I think it's just a comment, but yeah. So nothing else right now.
I'll just tell one story that we all heard, and it is nice for us to remember. That helps us to orient. And we mentioned an insect. You remember the story? The insect on the back of a pig is so impressed with the land he has found, and the land is a patch of mud on the back of the pig, and he's busy, making banners and putting notices, no trespassers allowed, building fences. And the eagle comes, asks him, do you want to come to the sky? Do you want to be an eagle? He says, no, I found this land. I don't want to lose this land. I'm so lucky to find. And next day he finds more land, more lucky. This, and then eagle says, okay, I'll come next week. And then next week he says, now there's some problems in the land. So the cracks. I'm busy fixing cracks. So come next week. So all the time the insect is busy in his world of land, mud, and the eagle has to go back to the sky. So we are seeing these two levels of, we can say, consciousness, insect and the eagle. And the eagle, what is the life of the eagle? He sees the sky and sees the valleys and the mountains and the forests, and sees the trees and the animals, and also the pig, and also knows the life of the ant, if he wants. No comparison to the life of the insect. But for the insect, he has his own happiness also, and his own sorrows, and whatever that life. What we are really seeing here is there's two levels of consciousness. And the ego, it literally is stuck in this anthill, and has got some excitements also. But he's stuck in the anthill. Necessarily, starting position is ignorance, because he has to cross the line. The ego can take birth only in darkness of ignorance. And then its life, regardless of any success and achievements, its life is of being sad, bad, and mad. Subconscious life is this. We said when victim consciousness, beggar consciousness, all this, but also the slave consciousness. But in essence, sad, bad, mad. That becomes the life. And he tries to address this just by having more. Senseless, like they're headless. They don't know to stop having desires. So, and it can destroy the planet and destroy themselves. But ego is absolutely just like a cancer cell. Cancer cell destroys the body, but destroys the cancer cell also eventually. But it cannot stop Same happens with ego. Ego ends up destroying the planet, destroys itself. Such is the destiny of the ego. You cannot stop the destruction as long as ego is there. So that is that lower consciousness caught in the anthill. The option we have is discover the eagle and discover the wings, discover the sky. Now, it is not a long process. When we are using the language of soul, you are seeing the sky and you are seeing the wonder of the sky, and you are 100% free from this life of being sad, bad, mad. 100% free. 100% free from ignorance. That's why what remains is a life of wonder in forever. In this experience, you don't need the contrast of sorrow to appreciate happiness. It is like a life of wonder that is natural. Such is the truth of everyone. And the eagle is a nice image, but here you are experiencing angelic souls out of the anthill. So the life, one who is awake, he knows his life with God, world of truth, world of immortality, world of souls who are childlike and godlike, Ravan-free region and Ravan-free souls. That is the family, and that is forever. Lack nothing, miss nothing. This is the inner life. And at the present time, there is the huge opportunity of being the friend. There is need of intervention at the right level. So that is a need of the present time, of those who come in the sky. But in that anthill, there will be a new land coming up, and there will be new kind of glitter land with some shiny star, prime location on the back of the pig. So there are new kinds of temptations will come in that anthill. You will have to find way to overcome these excitements in the anthill and discover the sky. Yeah, Nam Shanti.
It does feel like a game that the more free you are, the more there is not the Vinash force. So there's more reward, but then it's like also drama is giving. You have to be detached from that, the fruit of, yes, so it's like a constant game. The wisdom to make the alokik world, the excitement. That's the right word. So it's probably time for breakout rooms. And do you have a question for reflection or anything to add?
How to discover the eagle and come out of the anthill. In spite of the new kind of iPod and new glitter.
Yes, in spite of any new glitter that may be there. May or may not be there, but okay, so we're going to create some time now, as you know, and just to mention that if you are in a different room than you want to be, there is an option to move rooms when you will be assigned to one, but then you click on the 4 boxes together and you will see a list of the other rooms. If you wish to move, feel free, or change your language group. You will listen in Spanish or you can listen in Hindi. So enjoy, and we'll meet back in around 10-15 minutes. Thank you. Well, welcome back. And we're going to take a moment just to pause and consolidate, go into the depth of one point. And after that, we have 2 guests we will hear from, their experiences and reflections. So let's just take a moment together. Thank you. And first, we'll be warmly welcoming Helene, who's connecting today from Amsterdam, or near Amsterdam, I think, in the Netherlands. So great to hear your own reflections and anything that came up in the discussion.
Yes, thank you, Sarah, and Om Shanti to all. It's a lovely question, how to discover the eagle and to come out of the anthill. As I was also sharing in the group at the beginning, that we get this divine intellect from Baba, and it was like, wow, you know, this is really makes sense. A lot of questions are being answered, and the knowledge is making is opening the intellect. But still, there's not the ego has not been discovered yet. So that's a continuously also reflecting and checking the self. And a lot of what Prashant Bhai today shared about checking the self. Is there any, like for me at least, during the day, is there any resistance? Do I have any opinion? Do I have any judgments? It's a lot of it is about accepting the drama as that it is, instead of having an opinion about it or thinking that it has to be changed or anything. So that's the first step for me, to discover the eagle. And finally, the flying of the eagle is it's so interesting. If you take some step backs from any situation or anything, and retracing your steps actually, and removing the judgments and everything, then there is this helicopter view, I would say. So that's the discovering of the eagle and coming out of the anthill. But it's all about all the threats that are the attractions or anything, like also Prashant said, you know, there's some new glitter and anything. Where does my attention go? What's going on in my mind? And am I still attracted to the newest iPhone that's coming or something else? What's interesting me as being Helene instead of the inner being, the invisible being, and being aware that there is the real world where and also seeing the invisible being. So it's a switch. Both realities, you could say, is here, the reality of drama and the real world. But it's the switch. Can I switch on the light and use my inner eye to see who I really am and who the others are, and not being confused or deceived by form or matter or anything. And there were some lovely sharings also in the group. Once the suggest, yes, like, you know, checking every moment, and also Baba gave the gift of the divine intellect, but there was the realizations I haven't been using it. So am I using the divine intellect? So these were some few points that came from the group. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much. Just a funny image, isn't it, to see that if you really sort of see an anthill, you know, and then you just see some glitter in it. How funny to sort of think, oh, something's sparkling. You just, it helps, doesn't it, to really just to keep bringing this image.
Yeah, beautiful what you're saying. It's like, you know, it catches your eye. That's the expression in English, isn't it? And it happens within a second. Yeah.
So we're going to now, I think, a little north, and we'll be welcoming today Gita from the Helsinki Center in Finland.
Hello, thank you, Sarah, and it was also nice to hear Helene's sharing. And from today's lesson, we also shared about it in the room, about understand the effort that is done from the ego. And ego is such a slippery thing, so it's important to find these examples, and the story of the pig and the insect finding that prime location, just a mud pad. It just gives us such a lovely perspective for us, how ridiculous we are with our wants and desires here. And it's absolutely hilarious. And it might take some time, but I think it's important to have this contrast, and the example of the camel and the elephant, all these are helping us to detach. Otherwise, we get caught. You know, there are human beings and aunties and uncles and sisters and cousins, and we have the attachment, and the attachments are cluttering our intellect, so we get confused. And like today we heard how in that confusion we just get more deeper into confusion, so it's the light is missing. So these examples are really giving the contrast. What is the light? And in that light we can understand the darkness. So really appreciate all these stories. We were also talking about notes. I don't know if you can see what kind of notes I have made. Can you see the notes?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. So that's the pack of the pig and a little happy insect with a prime location. I don't know. Sometimes these stories just like make it so ridiculous, this our attachment for glitter and glamour, and we can immediately see how ego was involved. So appreciating today's clarity. Thank you.
Thank you. I absolutely enjoy the drawing side. So yeah, I fully I get a feeling of it with drawing. So it's playful, isn't it? It feels like a playful process. I liked what you said, in light we understand even the dark better. That's like Maya's great trick, isn't it? No, analyze dark a little bit more hanging around the pig. and how much we can help others with this staple. Better put Gita back in translation. See, putting headphones on. So yes, it'd be lovely to hear any other reflections in the chat. Meanwhile, or welcome back. We have one reflection. All our journeys are quite unique, and the full value of the invisible incarnate. That's a beautiful phrase. And how this invisible incarnate is looking out for the soul brothers. Very sweet. Thank you. So Prashant, back to you.
Let us create one more minute of silence. For us, the silence means rich silence, silence of the eagle. During this minute is out of the commotion that is going on in the anthill. Silence of the sky. And rich because you are aware the silent greatness of everyone. You are aware of the word of immortality. You are aware of the truth, the dimension of truth. And you are aware of everyone's life with God. In a true sense, they are all eternal princes who belong to the King of Kings. Such is the extraordinary truth of everyone. When the true self is experiencing this true self, which means it is not mixed with the role, not mixed with ego, then there is power. And we said it is a lighthouse effect. Just you shining light in this dimension, it will become easy for others to see this side of the truth. Thank you. I will read a few lines that were spoken by Baba recently, and I'm translating. The word sadhana Baba is using. Sadhana is a word used for deep meditation. All that, the perspective of the invisible incarnate, that is sadhana. During the seconds, minutes, you are soul conscious, you are with you are in the company of the Supreme Friend. It is sadhana. Sadhan is another word that is used for different things you might use. Like car is a sadhan, and your shoes are sadhan, and computers are sadhan, and almost everything that you may use, translated as facilities, but it is more than facilities. So your stick you are using, that is a sadhan. So the words from Baba. Sadhana based on the support of sadhan is like building, like a building with foundation of sand. Let your imperishable sadhana not be based on any perishable sadhana. To use sadhan in name, whereas sadhana is the basis of creation. Give importance to sadhana, and it will enable you to achieve magical success. Siddhi. So it is nice, it is right now we got these computers and facilities. These are all facilities. And maybe the place you are, there may be heating and there may be music, nothing is wrong. It is all there. But the message there is, see that your sadhana doesn't need any of these things. Eagle is not in the sky because of any situation in the anthill. Anthill going on, but eagle can go in the sky. If it is ego-based efforts, ego will say, I need a certain right temperature, and I need right music, and I need right smell, and there shouldn't be noise, and all kinds of conditions will be there. You need a certain drink before and a drink after, and then you will have sadhana. And here the game is, first you discover the sky, the invisible incarnate, first experiences, and then he comes in it becomes a story. You're not becoming dependent on anything of the story. What was mentioned there, when your creation, like your efforts in reaching others also, in being a friend, if it is based on sadhan, then it will not bring the results. That makes sense, because only the one who is conscious, he can create light. If one is not conscious, so there is no sadhana, then you do not create light. And then there will not be magical success. So that was nice. The play of words, sadhana and sadhan.
So some questions have come up.
Sure.
Just on this topic, one question. So ego may even say, I want to listen to Prashant Bhai's retreats. Is this not one of the supports as well? If we are taking support for our efforts or dependent on an instrument of Baba. The question clear?
Yeah. What the whole game is, let it not be eternally just taking support a retreat and the next retreat. Let it not be that way, but taking advantage of this, whatever help that we get. And through the structure, of the institution, there are different things happen in Madhuban and different things happen in our centers. They are all there, but then use it as a springboard to discover the eagle and discover the world of invisible incarnate, discover that sky. Then it is, we are going in the right direction. Otherwise, one is going from waiting for the next retreat and one is staying at that level. It becomes a bit like a mela, some gathering. And but the first, as we mentioned, first, second, we have the option to go in the other side. First, second, the invisible incarnate has the option to wake up. And it is not a long process. But then we may need to reinforce and to take whatever that is happening, to take benefit of it is good. But to let it be parallel. The real test will come if the technology is not working, if you cannot get a reception, nothing comes to a halt. If the invisibly incarnate is already conscious, if the eagle is in the sky, then okay, well, the one scene changes, some other scene starts. And you will find you are not dependent on the sadhana. But it is a good question to ask and to check for ourselves.
And also using it while it's there feels right, because it feels like another form of Maya will say, I don't need it, but it's like using it as a springboard for the means to become free and to help others. It's more like a giving. Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree.
There was a question that was a wish to clarify or confirm the meaning of this ant and insect consciousness. It came up in the room. Someone was asking, are we degrading others by comparing them to ants and insects? Is it that we are comparing their thinking but not the souls? So just a little more on that would be helpful.
Sure. We are actually elevating because we are reminding that they are eagles and a lot far higher than their wildest dream. And everyone is trying to be good in that anthill. Celebrity ant, that is their biggest achievement. Be Mr. President in that anthill. And what we are saying is they are actually the eagles. And it is good for them to see that contrast. And when they see the contrast, they will be able to discover that option. Otherwise, everyone is settled in that anthill, being bitten up by some ants now and then. But they are hoping things will be okay tomorrow.
It's also seeing it largely in oneself, actually, the ant consciousness. It's prevalent internally unless the soul is conscious.
Ordinarily, we may glorify our body consciousness because everyone around you is, so there is no urgency to drop it. It appears as if everyone is settled to that level. When you give this contrast, Baba is not saying, oh, the body consciousness is okay. When you get chance, practice soul consciousness. Baba says this is like a degradation, lowest level that we have reached. Come out of it now. This is Baba's position. And then so we have to give ourselves that contrast and see that present state is one of lowest level degradation. And that is not a big achievement to be some virtuous end. That is not our aim. Aim is to get out of that mess and discover the ego.
Thank you. One more question. I know we're coming close to time. This was a different subject. So there can be tiredness in playing roles and performing actions which are to satisfy others. But there is fear if one is not doing that because of the reactions that others give. Can be very difficult situation and difficult, can be rudeness. So we then tolerate it. But if in doing that, there's unhappiness inside from not listening to oneself. So is the question clear?
Yeah. All these things are going on in our world, but bring in the spiritual angle first. And at the body conscious level, we cannot solve it. It is like ego trying to solve situations. First, bring in the soul angle and let the energy of the soul come in. And then your idea of what is right for you, what is right for others, and everything changes. It's a different game.
Thank you. And it changes the idea of what being helping others at a different level. So you're satisfying the soul rather than trying to satisfy Ravan, when then everyone is unhappy one way or another. So
Yes.
I know we've come close to time, and so if you have anything to wrap up or final thoughts before we finish.
And I might like to underline that meditation connected with the invisible incarnate, and worth revising it, listening to it again. As we said, in that space, the invisible incarnate experiences the highest, but in a neat way. It is like bypassing the ego all along. And it is a game of a second. We can come in that space when we choose. And to bypass the ego is a big success for us. And in that, we are true friend of the soul. We are our own friend. And as we said, once you are your own friend, you are truly the friend of everyone else. At an immediate level, superficial level, it may not be, people are not going to necessarily send you the greeting cards for the Christmas. But and you don't necessarily have to send cards for Christmas to anybody because you're a friend. Nothing wrong with it, but here your intervention is silent. And the real benefit, that's what you want. So good luck. And we'll be listening to transmission, and it's nice to connect with Madhuban and connect with the words from Baba directly.
Thank you. And we will go to Madhaban, and after the drill, we'll have a reflection of the 10 words of yoga. But before that, just sharing in the chat and on the screen the details of the next advanced retreat in December. We'll send them by email as well. And nice topic, Karma Yogi versus Karma Bhogi. Bhogi is indulgence. So I'm looking forward to this topic. So we're going to be sharing details on that, and we'll go for the drill and enjoy, and the meditation afterwards. Om Shanti. Connect soon.
अभ्यास करो, एक सेकंड में निर्विकल्प निर्व्यर्थ संकल्प एकाग्र एक भाव दूसरा न कोई, एक ही संकल्प के एकाग्रता शक्ति के अनुभव में बैठ जाओ। टाइम नहीं लगाना, एक सेकंड में। अच्छा